Hello, dear friends and comrades. Live, your favorite program, 60 Minutes in Hot Colors, begins with the Russian Ministry of Defense breaking news. This morning showing exclusive footage of the attack on the completely liberated settlement of Novomikhailovka. The Russian flag was planted by Marines of the 155th Brigade of the Pacific Fleet on the westernmost edge of the highest point of the village. The settlement itself is very small, but the importance of rations to him cannot be overestimated. This is how many other settlements have actually turned all houses and buildings into a mature fortification area for the new Mikhailovka. For years, Ukrainian engineering forces have been pouring pythons, and Mikhailovka has been moving in between. So, literally dug trenches. In addition, Ukrainian atheists deployed their weapons for defense. In the local Orthodox Church, among our trophies, the Marines took them. Swedish grenade launcher, American Javelin NATO electronic warfare complex. Another success in the past day she communicates there, which is also a sudden victory for Russia. Video confirmation of liberation from Fritzev. On your screen, soldiers from the 27th Vader 21 Brigade 433 Regiment in the center of the village, greet Tatarstan, Ulan-Ude, Krasnoyarsk. Well, our Olympic bear from the 35th Independent Guard Motorized Infantry Brigade in Altai, Krai greets Macron. We read the inscription Q, prices back home right now. In the westernmost suburbs, the sweep is underway and Russian attack aircraft are already working further. Enemy Resources State Type wrote that Russian army attack aircraft entered the settlement of Novomikhailovka, where Ukrainian drill forces urgently deployed from neighboring Solovyov were cracked further south than Jesus' defense line. So we're waiting. From there, the good news is that in these footage, the direction of the north and the work of the Russian army to destroy the BC position near Belogorsk in the direction of Kharkiv. Another American 109 Paladin howitzer was destroyed in the village of Lozovaya Lanceta. But new footage of the trophy Leopard 2 was captured again in the direction of Avdiivka. Right now, our military engineers are studying it in detail. One impression: Germans are full of electronic devices, and once hit, they fail to obey the field conditions there, unlike their Russian counterparts. The news came out today, alarming his NATO high command, and the British tabloid Sun quoted Ukrainian chickens as announcing the plan. Take a closer look at our ART's summer-spring offensive plan. The estimated time is from the end of May to the beginning of June. The plan comes with a map, of course, with a lot of tanks on it and more. Arrows. Here comes the question. The first arrow is, what kind of trough did the British invent in the Sea of Azov at 2? Why did the Russian army attack from the depths of the Sea of Azov and attack on tanks? Third, why did we attack Crimea instead of Kharkiv, where you dug up a new line of defense directly from the third shift? The new aid package will not be mastered or drank by itself. They believe that Ukrainians have made another important strategic decision to rename more than 340 settlements. The corresponding bill is of course surrounded by the Verkhovna Rada. These are just two recent examples of the Odessa region's proposal to rename the village of Nadezhda Vovka to the city of South Porto-Mentopal, Champagne. And the village of Rocha in New Paris. We will assume that the belligerent country needs to change its name so that the Russian army can come and get lost in the attack. He would agree. At the same time, they helped Ukraine to decommunist and march to Russia's Kiev, and I may say that at night in Kharkiv, our missile soldiers attacked the Kharkiv tractor factory. Active detonation can be heard in the video from the scene, as announced. Well, that is to say, it exploded for a long time, especially in this regard. The comments of one of the Ukrainian experts were particularly touching, Russia said. So he said he hit with a hard ballistic. You'll forgive us, but we didn't find any soft ballistics. The day before, a TV tower in Kharkiv was hit. Ukrainian media reported on this 2 News 1. The Russians hit the turret of the MAP-59 aerial missile, and the crew of the Su-34-2 fighter jet directly hit it during a phone call between Biden and Zelensky. The clown even managed to complain to Joe about the insidious Russians who turned off the signal of the so-called Ukrainian TV show. Now, the TV series is called Ukrainian Media TV, all of which have not been destroyed in Ukraine. However, the signal in the city disappeared. The tower broke in half, the spire collapsed, stuck in the ground, and is still lying. At the same time, more than one person was not injured in the impact. The Ukrainians used the tower not only for Russophobic propaganda, but also for military purposes, which is, of course, more important to us. A large number of reconnaissance system repeaters are installed on the tower. The militants also used antennas to guide anti-aircraft missiles, coordinated attacks by drones and multiple rocket systems, and hit our Belgorod with them, so the destruction of the tower definitely deprived the eyes and ears of height, creating some kind of blind spot for any signal. So it certainly works for us, but it's also clear. Why are we doing this? That the day before a pregnant woman was killed in Belgorod. I can't save a woman or a child. Match Ukraine requests consular services for men aged 18 to 65. Me1 Ukrainian Deputy Foreign Minister Saib, who published the Russian translation of the Tisny Zerkalo Nedeli Mirror, is prying to stop providing services to potential recruits abroad. The only action now available to young and not very young Ukrainians is to draft documents. Return, that is to say, Ukrainians are not even slaves to Zelensky. Like serfs, they are real meat for the front line. At the same time, the legal mobilization itself has not even come into effect, but it has been applied by the real rule of law countries and the European Central Committee. I wonder how many conscious and healthy Ukrainians are now returning home due to blackmail and threats. The answer may not be much. But the United States and NATO need meat because the weapons supplied need someone to control them. The day before, there was information about what a large amount of military aid to Kiev from SHA would look like. According to Politico, it would be much more than the previous one, although the previous one was sent to Ukraine for only 300 million. Well, thank you for explaining that more packages will be included this time. Among other things, additional Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, Harvey armored vehicles, and BEM CPM 113. In addition, the new military aid will include artillery shells and air defense equipment, and perhaps the most serious weapon for us. The threat is an attack missile with a range of up to 300 kilometers. In a conversation with Biden, Zelensky proudly said he had agreed to reinforce concrete. About long-range packages. The U.S. edition of the Cavity Forum today wrote about what Western aid could be, which the U.S. recognizes as an analyst's focus. Experts say Europe should send troops to Ukraine, which would be the best response to Putin, because with the start of the special operation, the regional balance of power has been broken in the European Union, not in the United States. It is Europe, not the United States, that is of vital interest. To win as many credits as possible, that is, the Americans started the war, and the best solution to end it would be the European soldiers who had to replace the Ukrainians, in the rear on the west bank of the Dnieper River anyway. Therefore, according to the Americans, the Euro army will show that they are not here to fight, not to kill, but to send a signal to Putin. Like, the right bank of the Dnieper is close to you. In other words, they are occupying Ukraine. Indeed, the occupation of Ren FXX is called a noble mission. The Europeans were advised not to engage in direct combat, but to install their air defense systems to shoot it down. They say the risk of shooting down Russian drones and cruise missiles is minimal. In addition, Moscow has repeatedly said it will not start World War III. In addition, foreign exchange has found that Europeans do not even need to fear nuclear war because Western special forces are already operating in Ukraine, which means that all Putin's red lines have been erased and all Russian threats have been erased. No more than propaganda. In other words, the Americans are now weakening us and Europe. Let me remind you that the same trick was done with Sich, but they did it in the first two world wars, sitting overseas, supplying weapons, doing business, waiting for Kaiser Wilhelm or allied Hitler or the Soviet Union. Sadly, Europe has no politicians, at least Bismarck's level. Or you are Gaulle, although the conditional de Gaulle still exists, but only in the form of an aircraft carrier, which, according to the French counterpart, Admiral Jacques Maillard, is now escorting frigates and nuclear submarines, starting with deployment in the Mediterranean Sea in order to formulate actions in the event of a large-scale war. Warships from SHAS, Spain, Greece, Italy, and Portugal went to meet the French. Who is NATO's likely opponent in Europe? Obviously not the heart that the alliance had dismembered decades ago. If Ukraine fails, Putin will not stop attacking the Baltic states, attacking Poland, you won't believe it, attacking East Germany, intimidating his Western sponsors, Zelensky's pilaf. The Russian president wants to regain Soviet influence in this context. President Putin has brought a real German war to Kiev, and Zelensky's sick fantasy will be attacked. The society distributes Soviet heritage, which they are trying to brutally destroy in Ukraine, and recognizes it as an architectural monument. We're talking about tableau series and 70 board houses, which have been built in Germany since 1973 in 17 years. Yes, the unification of East and West Germany put more than 1 million new apartments into use at that time, 1.3 million. In the future, many such houses were naturally demolished, rebuilt and modernized, and now few are preserved. As they say, they decided to protect the original form of Dresden, Kerry Gale, and the terminal near Berlin. The entire panel micro area is recognized as a monument. Klaus Nitz, head of the Leipzig Monuments Conservation Service, linked the increase in supporters of protecting Khrushchev, who remained in Germany, to Germans' nostalgia for Gitter, but that is, Germans have been drinking for 34 years. Modern Western democracies have decided that the past is better. Now it's the American election. California Governor Gavin Newsom. Watch releases new campaign antibody Trump role, meaning as cranberry as possible. If Trump wins, he's going to order police to force women crossing the state line to take pregnancy tests. The cars will stop the cowboy aggressors with the test in their hands. Even rape victims will be forced to undergo the procedure. In the video, a mother takes her daughter to the hospital. Hobbit tears? But are they finally forced to give birth to meaning? Campaigning is very simple. Trump is against abortion, Democrats are for, and I will come, Donald. Police will ban pregnant women from Republican states from traveling to Democratic states, forcing them to give birth, and give birth again.